morning, and welcome back to another Sunday morning service with the Blurred Church of Anime. I'm your preacher, your teacher, your cult leader, whatever you want to call me. I am Black Star, here to share another hopefully inspiring message with you based on anime, manga, and the geeky, nerdy things Black folk love the most. I hope you had a fantastic week. Um, I think a lot of people have been feeling a very deep freeze this week all over the US, all over the country in the US of A. I am not a winter person. I don't like the cold, and I tend to want to hibernate whenever it gets to be super cold. I'm one of those people like, I'm not leaving my house. I'm not going nowhere. Don't ask me to hang out. And yet, I still manage to be out nearly every day this week, despite the cold and the freezing temperatures. Does that make it a good week for me? I just shows that I'm getting stronger out here in like these freezing temps. What about you? How did you survive? I don't know if it was snowpocalypse as much as it's coldpocalypse because it wasn't always snow everywhere. It's just extreme cold in a lot of places. Midwest got it. The South definitely got it. I think the Northeast, y'all getting the snow right about now this morning. So maybe you're cozying up home with your fireplace or your heater or your warm blankets and your cats and whatever and listening to this while you try to stay inside and stay warm. I'm wishing the best for you. And if you don't have a warm place to be, I am hoping that there are community places for you to be able to get to. Um, I think we do have to remember that not everybody has a warm place to be, especially in warmer areas like in the South, the West Coast, where temperatures don't typically get that bad. Like those who are unhoused or outside, this is a really, really dangerous time for them. So if you can help out at a local shelter or put together things for folk who are living in tent cities or know someone who is struggling, like do find in your heart to give during this time. It's really, really hard. Um, Oh, I feel like a little bit of downer coming in, but I maybe should say that some people be having a worse week than you. And if you didn't have a good week last week, if this cold has really stymied you from doing the things you need to do, and then F last week, we are hoping for a warmer, better week that's closer to the spring that will eventually come. Winter has come, but eventually there will be a spring, and we just gotta hold out to it because y'all not gonna be able to tell me nothing come springtime. I'm telling you, spring and summer, that's my time, definitely. All right, so I think we have to talk about something that's really important this week. We gotta talk about JJK, Jujutsu Kaisen. Like the internet has gone bonkers over the past week's episode, and let me tell you, I am a Maki stan, have been from season one. Like we rep Maki here, definitely. But we're not talking about Maki on this episode because I don't like doing episodes of brand new things that are coming out. I want to give y'all a chance to watch it, see it, digest it before we break it down. That doesn't mean there isn't plenty other things to talk about with JJK. It is a series that since it started its run has had a chokehold on me. Was is beginning it feels like a big three series, even though I feel like it's been on long enough to consider it a big three, like Dragon Ball Z's and Naruto's. But it is definitely just tremendously good series. Um, and so what I don't want to talk about, well, I'm not going to fully talk about Maki in this episode. I think what we are going to chat a little bit more about is the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero theatrical release movie. And let me tell y'all, I saw that movie I don't know how many times in theaters. I know I watched it both dubbed and subbed. Like I had to see both versions of it. As I've mentioned before, was already a JK fan. I love the first season. I feel like every episode was just always better, like was topping itself. I never felt bored. And I told myself I wasn't going to read the manga because I was just really enjoying the feeling I got from every episode. And I feel like if I read the manga and spoiled it for myself, I wouldn't have that feeling. I wouldn't have that, oh my gosh, this happened. Oh, I can't wait to see what's next week. And then I saw the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie, and I saw it a couple of times, and I was like, I feel like I'm missing some smaller, like I need to know everything about this story. Found out, of course, there was a manga, um, a side manga for it, read that, was like, yeah, there was some like little pieces wasn't quite in the movie that was kind of, translated a little differently in the manga. And it really made me just start reading the whole one. I'm not gonna even lie. After that, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep it to this storyline, this chapter, and it was like, nah, let's go ahead and read the whole thing. Let's catch up. And I have been on JJK manga and anime since it hasn't ruined the show for me. I feel like I have a different opinion now when I watch the episodes because I know what's going to happen now. I think there's like episodes I'm like, I can't wait to see, and there's episodes like I am dreading seeing. Like the Shinjuku incident season 2 was so hard for me to get through because I knew it was coming, and I don't know if I would want to have a different experience than that. Like I don't know. So I'm not mad at myself for reading the manga. But enough about me. Let's get back to the topic of JJK0. And I really, instead of talking about Maki, I really want to talk about Yuta. Because I think there's something really inspiring and so interesting to follow the character Yuta um, through his journey, especially now we're at season 3 and you see and the talks. And I really love like watching the movie and being like, oh, that's who Toto was talking about in season 1 when they had the things like, what, where's Yuta? He's not here. Ah, that's about to be like seeing Yuta being like this bad as like hard hitting character, and then in Zero, you're like, this is the guy. This is the guy Toto wanted to fight because this wimp of a person, this wimp of a character, and again, like I said, I've watched it a million times, and now that it's on Crunchyroll, I can rewatch it anytime I feel like it. This is dangerous because it's getting to be one of my favorite anime movies. Um, I think it's such an interesting story to see where Yuta goes from feel like everything is done to him to taking ownership and being the one controlling things. And to be very honest, I think a lot of us go through that where we feel like life happens to us, that like it's out of our control. Maki, when she's lighting into him when they first meet and they're about to go work together, and she's like, she's that little line, you were bullied, weren't you? Yeah, I can see why I probably want to bully you too. But she's like, you're so passive. You let things happen to you. What's your goal? Why are you here? And again, she really ramps up our boy. But that is a way a lot of people live their lives. And I think it's also a mindset to where you're trying to take responsibility off of the things. Like, don't get me wrong. There is a chaos theory where things happen randomly. There's things you cannot control. There are just so much that goes on in life that it's crazy to think you can control everything. Like that's on the opposite end of the spectrum to believe that you can control all events. So there's, all this. I'm not saying we go all in on that part. But there is a point where, well, yes, random things happen, bad things happen, and sometimes things can feel out of control. But what are you doing? What are you doing to bring things back in? Because what we see in early Yuta, especially in this movie, especially with Rika, is he believes all these things just happened to him. Rika's curse was placed on him. Rika lashing out whenever he is bullied or he's scared or something happens. That is Rika. That is the curse activating. That's not him. He, what he decides to be active about is trying to not hurt people by either isolating himself or trying to get in for a secret execution. And we are supposed to be like, oh, that's heroic of you. Yes. And even when he tries to self delete, Rika stops him. She twists and turns the knife so that way he cannot harm himself. It's all very much so this world is happening to me. And what we see first that Gojo Sensei gives him an opportunity to be like, okay, well, shutting yourself off from the world because this thing is happening to you is a very lonely existence. What can you do to make sure that you're not in this worst state despite the bad thing happening to you? And I do think that is step one. Step one, where you're very passive, when you're like, life keeps happening to me. These bad things are happening to me. I don't have control. It's the one stop and pause and say, well, what can you have control over? What can you do? Um, And it really does take like a couple of suggestions. It takes maybe a Gojo sensei stepping in and being like, come to this school. And even though he hadn't fully explained what Jujutsu High was, he was like, this is a chance for you to make friends, to not be lonely and isolated. We know what you are, but this is a place where you can start being active, you know? And I think that is the very first step. It says, okay, you can't control everything. These bad things have continuously happened to you. This curse is on your life. I like to say I have like, if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck. And it's not really terrible bad luck. Like I'm not falling into ditches. I don't think I'm getting struck by lightning. But I have like the like death by paper cuts type of bad luck, where it's just all these little things that keeps you from being able to be great. Kind of, and I know part of it is like I could do better if I was more organized or did things on time and stop procrastinating. But it's always a little fun to be like, this is just the universe getting back at me. That no matter how many times I try to do that, it takes me 4 tries to leave my house. You know, I can be very passive about the random acts of like, well, I forgot my lunch. It's just the universe. Or it was me not putting my things in a space where I knew to grab them when I left for work, you know? But I start asking myself though, instead of always like, oh, this is just the universe. What did I actually have control over? What could I have done to either stop the bad thing from happening? Like, did I do my due diligence? Did I plan ahead? Or are there things I can do that like lessen the negative effects? So first step is being like a Gojo and getting yourself an offer to see like what can you control. And in this moment, Yuta was able to control the conditions of his life by deciding to not stay isolated, not stay, locked up and isolated for the fear of what his curse Enrico would do. Second part is then when you're actually really challenged, kind of like the challenge that Maki gave him when she's like really into him in the friendship. Not really, but like when she's really like getting into him, like she is skinning him alive about being this like wet nobody, this poor little lump noodle that he is at this moment. She's like, one, someone calls out, you've always been passive. What have you done? And then when they're actually fighting the curse at the elementary school, and Maki is like, we have to wait for somebody to come and save us. One, you can tell that she is absolutely hating the idea of being passive and having to be rescued. She was willing to come in here and do this thing herself, and then it didn't work out that way. She got cut. She started getting affected by the curse, and she didn't have the resistance that she needed in order to. And she dropped her weapon, so she could not defeat the curse. And he's just this new guy, and these two kids who are, close to death in this curse. And here's a guy whining, well, what do we do? And oh my gosh, I can't do anything. She's like, you were a special class, my dude. Like, why are you here? What are you trying to accomplish? She really like, gets into him about this. And we see him for the first time make a more active choice. Like, yes, deciding to go to Jujutsu High was a choice, but it's a choice where you met with tradition, where he just had to show up, wake up, go wherever. Now this is a choice to actually get up and fight, to dig into himself and say, okay, I have this thing that is done to me, because of course he's, considering the Rika curse as a curse that was placed on him. What can I do to use this to help other people for the betterment? Do I decide that I want to be a better person? Or have I decided that, I want to make up for all the bad things this curse has done to me and to everyone else? And then you see him take an active role. He actively calls out Rika to keep the curse occupied. I mean, just kind of really slaughter the curse while he tries to get Maki and the two kids to safety. And this is when we first start clapping it up for Yuta. This is when we're like, okay, this is the turning point. I think a lot of times step one is like, okay, what can I have control over? What can kind of make a little bit of an effort for? And then step two being like, no, I'm going to take the things I see that have been done to me and see how I can use it for the betterment of myself and others. That is the second level. And I think that is the hugest turning point that we see in Yuta becoming the bad bee that he ends up being by the end of this story. And then through Jujutsu Kaisen overall in the future and all the good jazz. So, yes, I think that's a really important scene is him in the elementary school with Maki finally being able to save, having Rika come out on his command and call, and realizing that he does have some power, he does have some control. And it also sets his mind straight around what he wants to do. Because now, instead of just being like, this is going to be my lot in life, I just don't want to hurt people, maybe I can learn a little bit more curses. Now he's like, no, now I need to learn more about this curse and see how I can set us both free. Not just me from the curse, but also Rika. And he gives like that first inkling that like this may be a two-way street. Maybe this wasn't something that was completely done to me. Or if it was done to me, I still have the responsibility to try my best to like work it out so that way it's not continuously happening. That was the step three, right? So like now he's taking responsibility. He's not just being an active participant. He's not just saying, okay, how can I use this to better my goals and to help others? If that is your goal, which is Yuta's goal in this example, he now wants to unravel it and take responsibility for even the things that has happened in the past. Um, he's putting in the work. We've seen our boy learn sword fighting and martial arts, getting his moves better. He's actively putting in the work. And even though when he's scared and he's gone on to other missions, he's trying. And I think that is the scariest thing when you're going from a passive way of living, where again, where everything is being done to you, to an active way of living, because now you know your choices actually have the consequences. And then when you try to fall back to that passive, like, well, maybe someone else will come and save me, or maybe, I'm just here to watch. I would want to be helpful, but I'm not able to be as helpful as I think I can be right now. It gets a lot scary because now like the onus is on the things that you can do and the abilities that you have and what you have prepped and what you haven't. And no one's saying it's not scary. It is. I'm acknowledging that. But then there's that pride that Yuta has in himself when he's able to maybe not vanquish the curse by himself, but be helpful and be a part of the vanishing of a curse, to be able, like, I can show people kindness or help the people who've already helped me, people who wanted to, make sure that I was okay. I love this movie because this growth in Yuta from just like this, like the heavy bats in the eyes, the guy who was just like, oh, I'm just waiting for death, to like being this active powerhouse. To him learning different forms of jutsu, for him learning about his classmates, for him recognizing like in the big battle where he's finally battling Geto by himself, after, he's watched Panic get slapped down, he watched his other classmate, and Maki gets decimated. And he's just really talking about like how amazing they are, how he's learned so much, and how hard it is to use their abilities. And like this, all the different moves he pulls out with Rika. And then we get to that like final culmination of when he's like, okay, we gotta go all out. There's no way else for me to save my friends. There's no way else to stop this destruction, this guy who is making, sorcerer fight sorcerer for whatever reason. Because he's like, I'm not into all the politics. All I know is that you hurt my friends, which hurt Yuta. I really do love Yuta. Um, and then at this point, he takes a bigger step where he's like, okay, I've been given a raw deal. Even if I've been able to like move forward and become better, and maybe I'm the only person right now that can stop this guy, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give my all. I'm gonna sacrifice everything I can, because then that sacrifice isn't okay. So I don't hurt any more people. I'm being passive because my life is so hard. Now the sacrifice is like, no. Now I'm gonna use the powers that I've been given to stop this thing, and I will take the backlash. I would take the consequences of what would happen for that. He has done a full 180 from this, from where we saw him when he started in this movie to where he is at this moment, where he's about to like just lay out on Geto, right? Beautiful scene, beautifully executed, as he remembers the life with him and Rika. He remembers the promise, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to fulfill that promise. And in the end, doing that does help break the curse, and also shows that what he thought was passive, what he thought was done to him, was always something he had done to himself. Like he wasn't active participating. Like he actually was the one that cursed Rika, that Rika became that curse to him because he wasn't willing to let her go when she was killed in the car wreck. So then he can sit there, and I love this crying scene where he's like, it was all me. I did this to Rika. I did this to all these other people. And instead of like again going back into his shell, doing the woe is me, I'm not such a good person as I thought it was. No, he takes on that responsibility. He takes on that guilt, whatever the feeling may be in that moment. And then he uses it to be like, well, I'm going to keep moving forward. And now that I know it wasn't a thing that happened to me, it's something I actually had control over. Now I'm taking that control and I'm about to be even better at exercising curses and making sure I keep this world safe. Like we get such great character and development from Yuta throughout this hour and a half movie. And while I don't think that we will all change our ways of being in an hour and a half or in a day or even a month, it may take years. I think there's so much that we can do to go from, okay, life is happening to me to like I'm an active participant where I can make things happen, where I can control some of the outcomes. A lot of people are very much like just comply, comply, comply to what life is throwing at you, or just say, well, life isn't fair and da da da. Okay, yes, but there's a point where I have to say, okay, life isn't fair, or I am being pushed aside, or I'm being bullied. That I do need to say, even though this stuff is happening to me, I can still take the reins in some type of way. I kind of like, I mean, we already know that Yuta was being bullied and Enrico would come out and protect him. And people have made like comments like, how are you feeling bad for yourself? Like, you got this protection that is always there to keep you from like the worst possible scenario. And I liken it to different type of bullying. I think in our lives, there are a lot of people who bully us, whether it's actual bullies when you're in school or people you know in real life, or if it's a bullying boss or professor, whether it's parents, because sometimes family can bully you, or whether it's your government, your institutions that are saying you need to do this certain way, and I'm going to keep picking at you so that way you do this. Being passive means okay, I crumple every time they come at me. But I think you notice that being passive never stops the bullying. It never stops the demands. It never stops them wanting more and more and more of you. I'm hoping that you get to a point one day where you're like, okay, where can I have a little bit of control? Where can I start kind of pushing back or support other people who are helping me to push back? Because again, I will say you didn't do this on his own. He had to have Gojo set up his entry into Jujutsu High and like trust in his word that he wouldn't be alone. He had Maki, who, as I said, got into him and started laying him out and started like, yelling at him about his passive nature and him not like, what are you here for? What are your goals? And if you exercise curses, you will make friends, all the stuff you want. The confidence will come if you just keep doing the work. You had you had all the other members there who encouraged him and worked with him and showed him that the path he was on was making him better and that it wasn't a lost cause. So, like, again, I don't think anyone does anything on their own. But it still took for you to say, I am going to do this. I am going to make the effort. And his effort was rewarded by his community being like, yes, we will support you in it. So back to my bully analogy, I think once you start making the effort to say, this is not right, this is not how I want this to be, you will be able to find community members that will support you and help you and then give you the confidence to be like, I don't have to live my life this way. I don't have to be crushed in the heel of the weight of what I think the world or the universe or whatever deity you claim gives you the things are happening to me. I think you can defy nature. I think you can defy the gods or whatever you want to call them. I think sometimes we just need to try and give it an actual sustained effort. So when you start feeling like there's nothing you can do, I think you should watch Jujutsu Kaisen Zero. The song that plays when Yuta's getting ready for his first day, like and he's eating and putting on his outfit and walking to the classroom. Our greatest strength is it's like one of my favorite anime songs. It's definitely something I listen to because like there's so many great lyrics in it, like moving forward. Realize not to look back. Your weakness is your greatest strength. That those type of lyrics is really, I think, remind me that you can be weak, but you can decide to get stronger. And you only get stronger once you become an active participant in your life. It doesn't just magically happen because you want it to. So that's my spiel for this week. I'm doing a little bit of shorter one because I know I went hard on Has Been Hotel the other week, 45 minutes plus. But I think again, if we look and see folk who are pushing back, folk who are doing the work to not be passive in what's happening in their lives, but to be active participant, to take control where they can. I think if you're not there yet, support them, give them a lot of love and accolades, and see where you can better reach, and whatever it takes to have for them to feel supported. And then find ways. Small. It starts small first. It starts with one choice. Like decide to go to jujutsu school, high school, and not, you know, languish in isolation. Find your one thing, and then keep pushing forward till you're actually able to be an active participant in your own life. And again, I hope you have a much better week coming up. I can't believe that January is almost over. The next time we'll talk, it'll be the first Sunday in February. Oh my gosh. I do want to announce that I will officially be at BlurCon. The Blur Church of Anime is going to be at BlurCon with our regular Sunday morning service. Look for us. I'll have more details in next week's broadcast, and also we'll be putting up where we'll be, the timing, all that stuff, and our social media posts. Hope to see you there because there'll be a live recording. We're going to do testimony services. So bring your anime, your comic, your manga, stories about times that they've helped you. Love to hear from you. So it's not always just me talking. All right? All right. Catch you on the next time. Bye. The Blurred Church of Anime podcast is produced by Blackstar, aka Lauren Tillman, written by Lauren Tillman, and hosted by Lauren Tillman. Music created by EL47.